Welcome back to the Zoneman podcast, everybody. And boys, we made it. Baseball is back. We got college ball. We got pitchers and catchers reporting this week. Let's do a round of applause. That's a great thing. It's a great thing. And in other news around the sports sphere, we got the 1 seed versus the 4 seed. Marquette is traveling to Storrs, Connecticut today to play UConn in a huge game in the college basketball sphere. Should be a good game. We'll have to keep our eye on that. And then moving right along, and we're going to hit in the now. We're going to start off with our team of the week and player of the week. I'll kick it off first. My team of the week, they really caused havoc this week. They played a great game against Brooklyn, and it's the one, the only, the Boston Celtics, baby. We run the East.
My team of the week is also the Boston Celtics. It was a very short week this week. It was kind of hard to go around and pick, who was a best performer other than the Celtics. They were 3-0 this week. 2 close wins earlier in the week. They had a great game against Miami. The first go around with Brooklyn was like way closer than it should have been. And then they continued that by blowing them out the next game. So obviously they figured it out. And as Joey mentioned, of them being the best in the East, they really seem like they're the team to beat come playoff time.
Yeah, I know. Just one quick little tidbit here I found it this week. The Celtics have not lost to Brooklyn at home since Kyrie stepped on Lucky 3 years ago. Oh, that was a little interesting fact there.
All right. For my team of the week, I chose the Charlotte Hornets. They won 3 games this week. Were the opponents great? No. But it's the Charlotte Hornets. They're one of the worst teams in the NBA. They managed to beat Max's Atlanta Hawks. They kind of blew them out. And they did beat the Pacers, however, who are pretty decent. So pretty good week for them.
All right, Nick.
All right, so for my team of the week, I'm actually going to go with the New Orleans Pelicans this week. They went 2-0. It's a very short week. They didn't play great teams, but they won both games. In one of the games, there was a pretty low score against Memphis, who, despite their record, still has some good talent on that team. So, in general, I think it was a pretty good week for them, and they look to be pretty strong going into the All-Star break.
Nice. All right, and then we're going to kick it on to player of the week. My player of the week, it's not an NBA player. It is a college basketball player. And I just think, out of all the players this week, there's just one in the basketball world that stood out to me the most, and that is Caitlin Clark. She broke the scoring record for women's basketball, which is absolutely insane. And while doing it, set a career high in points at 49, which is just unheard of. She's going to be an exciting player to watch for the years to come. And although I'm not a huge WNBA fan, I think she could actually take that league and make it relevant. I know Carl loves him, so Caitlin Clark.
For my player of the week, I am sticking in the East here, and I'm sticking with the Celtics here as I go for Jason Tatum. Sunday, Miami game, close game. He was 20 points, 9 rebounds, 2 assists. Solid game, solid performance for Tatum. Tuesday, that first game against the Nets, that was a little bit closer. He had a baller game. I'm talking 41 points, 14 rebounds, double-double there, 5 assists, 2 steals, and a block in their close win there. And then he had an average game again on Wednesday, 20 points, 7 rebounds, and 9 assists, almost getting a second double-double for the week. So that's tough to beat. He's been playing pretty good so far.
Yep. And then for my player of the week, I chose one of my favorite players in the NBA, Anthony Edwards. I just love watching him play basketball. And on the 12th against the Clippers, he scored 23, had 8 assists and 7 rebounds. And then in his last 2 games against Portland, 41 points and 34 points. So very impressive nights for Anthony Edwards there.
He's a great player. Nick?
All right. So for my player of the week, I'm going to give a totally unbiased take here, and I'm going to pick Denny Avisha for player of the week. He put up two very impressive performances in games that the Wizards, as typical, did not win. A 25-point performance, which to that point had been his career high in points, along with a plethora of rebounds, and then a seriously impressive 43-point outburst against the New Orleans Pelicans, who are a very good team, as you know. So overall, I think this is really has the potential to be a breakout season for him on a team that desperately needs some young talent to do just that. Please give us anything else. Anything. I need something.
I mean, fair enough. I mean, yeah, he's had a really good week. Are the Pels really doing that good this year?
They're
Yeah.
33 and 22.
They're a top
Oh,
5
wow.
team
Yeah.
in the West-ish.
Wow, good for them. Good for them.
And stayed healthy for the most part. So
Yep.
Avicii's no Alfred Sengun though.
Oh,
That's that.
That's
Rebuttal,
my
Nick.
brother.
Rebuttal.
That's my brother in the NBA right there.
they are twins. They are exactly the same person.
You do look exactly right. Anyway, moving right along. Joey's worst of the week. I think a lot of people saw this coming due to my hatred of the Kansas City Chiefs. My worst of the week, it was the Super Bowl. For starters, I mean, it's just I don't think it's good for the NBA, or not the NBA, I'm sorry, the NFL, to have two dynasties back to back. That people want to see different teams winning. They don't want to see the same teams winning. Now that I'm not on the winning side of that, I understand the frustration as an NBA or NFL fan of watching just another team win year after year after year. I don't think that's good for the NFL, and I think that it's gonna hurt because a lot of fans aren't happy with that. I mean, obviously, it was a great in terms of if you look at the game by itself, it was a great Super Bowl. I would say I think it was very entertaining, very exciting, but it's not the outcome. No one wanted that Super Bowl, and that was the last outcome anybody wanted going into playoffs. Yeah, so I have that, and then my another thing about the Super Bowl is my worst of the week, far and beyond, is the idiots who went and shot people at the Super Bowl. It's a horrible thing to do. I think that it's awful. I don't know if were they caught yet? Do we know?
yeah, they were caught.
Yeah.
Okay. But I do have to tip my hat to Andy Reid and one of the I believe it's the defensive tackle on the Chiefs. During the shooting, Reid and this tackle, they gathered up all like the small children that they could find at the parade that were lost from their parents, like got them into a closet and like made sure they were safe and like doing okay. Which honestly, that's a really stand up thing to do, and I'm really glad that Andy Reid and that D tackle could be those the bigger person there. And then I do have one more worst of the week, courtesy of Big Mo down there. He gave me the idea. Micah Parsons complaining about signing autographs. Man, you're getting paid millions of dollars. You can't sign one autograph. I understand they're like the guys over there were, I don't know, like 40 or whatever. Like, okay, I can understand turning that down because they're probably just going to turn around and sell the thing. But him complaining about the girl following him around the airport, that girl looked like she was 15 years old. I mean, come on, man. It's not that hard. You're making millions of dollars. You can't sign an autograph for one fan. Are you kidding me? It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. What are you guys' thoughts on all three of those?
Oh, I mean, I could go lengthy on each one of these. Not really on the Super Bowl parade one. The Super Bowl winning thing. I mean, respectfully, Joey, everybody here that's been a fan of the NFL, I think it's a little biased for a dynasty man to talk about a future dynasty. But
No, that's fair.
we can say, for the sake of having other teams in the Super Bowl, like respectfully, possibly our teams in the Super Bowl, on the NFC side, would probably be in our favor for the Chiefs to not like be there every season, with Patrick Mahomes leading the way. The shooting, I want to say an honorable mention, like Joey did was Clyde Edwards-Helaire literally went into the act of shooting to find a parent's child for them and put his potentially body on the line while recovering that child to get them back to their family. Like that's crazy, bro. You're an NFL player. This man had just gotten cut from the Chiefs, brought back, and then won a Super Bowl. They're all trying to just enjoy their time, and this man is putting his life on the line. Potentially could have put his life on the line to just save a random kid. And that's what we talk about. Obviously, it's a situation where we talk about stand-up guys that are, good off the field, good with people, good with fans. And that's just a guy that Micah Parsons isn't, Micah Parsons is just, a straight up a-hole. I mean, he's always been. I mean, we don't need to go deep into it, but we heard about the stuff at Penn State. We know what happened at Penn State. We've seen his attitude on and off the field. We've seen his respectfully, I don't know if we should call it bum because we're kind of a bum podcast, but his bum little podcast where he just goes on and talks trash about everybody else in the league, even though you were abysmal in that Packers game, but you did zero. You did nothing. Literally like no QB pressures. Dak Prescott carried that game in that loss. Deron Bland is a better defensive player for the team than you, man. I mean, honestly. But yeah, just dude, they're your fans. They contribute to your paycheck by buying your jersey. First of all, attending the football games. Second of all, the ticket sales go a little bit. We don't know. But like, come on, dog. You can't take like 2 minutes out of your day. Who cares? How do you know that I mean, obviously most people will go and sell stuff off, but how do you know they just don't want to bring something home to their kids? Maybe they got kids that you're their favorite player in the world. And oh boy, I hope daddy brings me home a Micah Parsons signed item. No, now that guy's got to go home a failure to his child because he met Micah Parsons and he didn't want to sign his stuff. It's terrible, dude. That's awful. That's my sense. We'll get into it in a little bit, but you just Nick, Carl, take it away, man. Let me hear some stuff.
Calling him a failure is crazy.
Yeah, not a great look by Micah there. Especially, I mean, I understand not wanting to sign autographs for a couple grown men, but I mean that was like a little girl basically, and she just wanted her helmet signed. I mean, that's not good at all. I mean, I know he had just won the NBA Celebrity All-Star Game MVP. So he was probably super stressed out before that, and it got a little bit weighed on him a little bit. But no, it's not a great look. Not a great look. What about you, Nick?
All right. So after hearing from Micah's PR team over there, I'm gonna give my take. So Micah Parsons, I think there's one way to describe him. He's a menace, just in the best way and worst way possible. He's a menace on the football field going after quarterbacks. He's a menace in the All-Star game because 37 points in the Celebrity All-Star game is actually dirty work. But it's kind of like a jerk move. It's like you can imagine, like as a kid, like he maybe would have wanted an autograph from a player he would have loved. Like you got to imagine like yourself or someone you care about also in that situation when you see other people doing it. That's just like empathy and being a good person. I mean, I'm not saying he's not a good person. I'm just saying that it's kind of a jerk move, and it's not the greatest look. I mean, I think it won't end up being that big of a deal because it's just one incident thing here. I mean, as long as he plays good football and doesn't do anything like super bad. Well, in the NFL, sometimes people do super bad stuff and still get to play, but in comparison to those kind of things, it seems rather tame.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a. I think it's clear, especially with the backlash, that he should try to reach out to her and find her and get her an autograph. So,
yeah, that would definitely do a lot.
Yeah, and that would completely fix it. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I agree. All right, moving right along here, we're gonna hit you with our Super Bowl recap and then our off-season preview. Now, we already mentioned the Super Bowl a little bit. We all aren't thrilled with the outcome, but at the end of the day, it was a good game. I mean, Shanahan's defense just completely fell apart in OT and on that last drive, which was expected because it's not the first time that has happened. But that Niners defense was absolutely insane this year. especially in the playoffs. So I was a little shocked to see how easily Mahomes could shred through that with a bunch of nobodies throwing he was throwing to outside of Travis Kelce and Rashee Rice. And then just also Greenlaw tearing his Achilles or whatever it was, running out onto the field.
That was terrible.
After the first try was horrible. He was those first 3 plays that he was in on, he was just so electric on the field. He brought like such a big energy that it was like I thought I was in for a great defensive game, and then he got off the field, and it was unfortunate for sure. You guys give me your thoughts.
As you can see from the background behind me, I'm not too choked up over the 49ers eating it. But I mean, it's just Patrick Mahomes. He's the undisputed best quarterback in the NFL. I don't think anyone's arguing that. And this Super Bowl and the one last year, I think, show really that the most important position you can have in the NFL is still quarterback. Before anything else, you have to build quarterback. It doesn't matter how talented the rest of the team is around. I mean, obviously, you have to have some degree of talent, like Mahomes had Kelce this year and a semi-decent offensive line. But those wide receivers, for a large part, were very inconsistent outside of Rashee Rice. And he still, through pure talent alone, was able to move them to the Super Bowl and to a big win. Because big players just step up in those moments, and I think it just goes to show that teams with all the talent around them, but no quarterback like Max's Falcons over there, it's not a sustainable model for success.
Nick, that's all of our teams.
I don't want to hear Geno slander.
No other team.
I don't want to hear Geno slander.
Level quarterback except for the Chiefs because they have Patrick Mahomes.
So you're admitting Dak Prescott's overrated? Finally.
He's not Patrick Mahomes, is what I'm saying.
So
I'm saying it's a team game unless you're Patrick Mahomes on the Chiefs. In that case, it's not a team game. It's a one-player game, and he wins every time. Okay?
It's true.
I do agree with Carl there. And it's just one thing real quick. I mean, Mahomes also had like a top 5 defense this year, Nick.
That's true. That's very
there
true.
was games where he did not perform offensively that his defense saved him, like Brady's defense has saved him in the past.
Yeah, honestly, there's a lot of similarities in how the Chiefs team this year was built to the Patriots teams of old. Like very good defense, incredible game-changing quarterback, a good really good tight end, and some receivers that kind of just played their role. So
don't you about Troy Brown like that.
So when the comparisons come out between the Patriots dynasty and the Chiefs, it's easy to see the connections. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes is not Tom Brady, not yet, and I don't know if he ever will be. Joey would be very mad if I said so. But it just shows that we're in a new era of the NFL. We're in the Mahomes era now from the Brady era. He's won 3 Super Bowls now, and it doesn't look like he's going to stop anytime soon. So what do you guys think of the looming dynasty that's set upon us?
He's going to tear his ACL and play one next year, and then, it won't be him anymore.
Joe, you started Mac Jones at the start of the season. I don't want to hear from you.
All right, well, enough of that yapping.
I didn't say anything about Mac Jones.
Patrick Mahomes was the MVP of the game, obviously. But I want to say I don't think Patrick Mahomes won them that game. If I look at the film correctly, how many easy go-ahead touchdowns were stopped by the Chiefs secondary that game? I'm pretty sure those Chiefs corners were on lock all game. Trent McDuffie, Shavarius Ward. There were plenty of, you can go back and watch the film and see if there was one little bit of separation on 2 or 3 plays. I mean, it was Debo, Super Bowl, what should have been Super Bowl MVP, Jawan Jennings, and other receivers like Ayuk getting easy touchdowns, if not for that Chiefs secondary, And I honestly have to view a low light in this game of what I believe was the true 49ers loss. And that was the disappointment of Nick Bosa forgetting how to play football. Because, I mean, brother, I'm an offensive lineman. I was an offensive lineman all through high school. I played a little bit in college before my bum back gave out. And the way I saw this man get fooled on a run fake that the top 5 edge rusher in the NFL should not get faked out by. And this happened to him not once, but twice in one game. Brother, it is a run fake. You're like the best one of the best edge rushers in the NFC. And it wasn't even a crazy run fake. It was he took the bait inside and they ran outside. What? Nick Bosa, what are we doing, man?
Bro got stuck in a Madden animation.
Yeah, like what are we doing?
The lights were too bright for Nick Bosa.
Exactly, man. Exactly, man. And also, after all those meme allegations, man, they must have just messed them up.
with the half a sack.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh, no.
that adds up.
But yeah, that's my take on the Super Bowl, man. Honestly, at the end of the day, it was an entertaining game. It had all the moments you wanted. It was heartbreaking. It was show-stopping. I mean, God, I loved watching Usher ride around on roller skates, bro. That was amazing. But it had everything a Super Bowl can offer. And, as much as I hope it's not the Chiefs going forward, I hope there's a lot more Super Bowls we get that can be that intense the entire game.
Yeah, honestly, as much as we dislike the Chiefs and seeing them in the Super Bowl, the last 2 Super Bowls they provided us have been very good in terms of like how good the games have been. It's been good entertainment value. We aren't getting Rams Patriots again. But yeah.
But
yeah, I also, along with Nick, I was not upset by the outcome of the game. I mean, obviously I'd wish that either the Chiefs or the 49ers were not in the Super Bowl. But
Lions.
I mean, but I don't like the 49ers. I mean, we can't beat them. So I don't like them.
Can't beat the
so
Packers
it's good
either.
seeing me live vicariously through the Chiefs. So they
Who
can
you beat, Carl?
We beat you this year.
Nick, you lost to the Steelers.
Yeah, in the playoffs, Carl.
Nick, you didn't make the playoffs.
When you make the NFC Championship again? When was
Nick,
the last time?
Steelers knocked you out of the playoffs.
Nick, you mean your second year being a fan of the Seahawks, the last time you made the NFC Championship? Okay. So I just want to talk about the Super Bowl, and Nick's interrupting me very rudely. I want to say it was a great game. I think the 49ers defense was significantly impacted by Nick Bosa's underplaying. Obviously, I mean, Jawan Taylor is not very good. We've seen him throughout this year get beat consistently, and he could not beat him. And then the Dre Greenlaw injury was very difficult. I mean, the Fred Warner Dre Greenlaw tandem is probably one of the best linebacker tandems we've ever seen in NFL history this season. And what they're able to do with just a stock cover 2 coverage is really amazing, because they can just guard the entire field and nobody's ever open.
Well, and Greenlaw was going to be that guy that was guarding Kelsey the whole game too.
Right? Yeah, they just do so much. And then their backup their backup linebacker got absolutely torched. Every time he got targeted, it was a catch for a lot of yards.
Yeah.
And it was just very difficult for their defense to get a stop after that.
All right, yeah. I mean, great points all around. Yeah, I agree with all of them. Where's Nick going? He's like falling over. Okay. Now moving right along. I mean, we got off-season preview. There's not much to really preview right now, because nothing's really has happened. Besides the fact, I don't know, that Marlon Humphrey might get cut to save money. J.C. Jackson might get cut to save money. T. Higgins is most likely getting the franchise tag.
I said Jamal Adams is also likely getting cut.
Jamal
Adams.
I
completely agree with that.
I
saw Chris Jones. I think he can get the tag now again. I forgot they did something with his contract where I think they picked up an option so they can tag him. Even though he'll probably not accept it, at least like right away.
I can't wait for a new video of Jamal Adams getting locked out of the facility.
I don't think he ever entered the Seahawks facility based on how much he played.
Yeah, no, he's out. He's out. Get him out of my sight.
I mean, the Seahawks draft the safety now, Cam Kitchens.
No, we don't need that.
No, they're gonna wait next year and get Rod Moore.
No, you gotta trust. We're getting Michael Penix.
Hey, you said it right this time.
We're getting Michael Penix. We're doing the all Washington combo, and we're going to the Super Bowl. You gotta believe me, bro.
All right, we're gonna move on to our next part.
Matt Hasselbeck,
real quick. This is our next part of In the Now here. This is a thing that was brought to me by Carl. He's very, very passionate about this sport. We're going to do MMA. UFC 298 is tonight. Carl, yeah, take it away, man.
Yeah, so I was just going to talk about some of my favorite fights on the main card. So we have Merab Dvalishvili against Henry Cejudo. First, Henry Cejudo, one of the most accomplished MMA fighters, really of all time, or just fighters in general. He won an Olympic gold medal in wrestling. Won a belt at 125 and 135. And this is his second fight after retirement. He faced Aljamain Sterling his last fight, and a lot of people thought that he should have won, but he did not. And he's fighting Merab Dvalishvili, who's very, very, very good in the bantamweight division, and he has not lost since 2018. His last fight, he fought Peter Yan. And he shot a record 49 takedown attempts. So it is interesting how the wrestling and grappling is going to work out in that fight. Then we have Jeff Neely and Ian Gary. This is a very big fight because if you follow MMA at all, you know that Ian Gary is not very liked based on the fact with his wife, if anybody knows about that. He lives with his wife's ex-husband, and he's the trainer, and he took his wife's ex-husband's last name. So there's a lot of stuff going on there. And so he's fighting Jeff Neal. Jeff Neal, a very elite boxer. He fought Shavkat Rakhmonov his last fight. Shavkat's very, very good. He will likely get a title shot, if not his next fight, the fight after that. And he will likely need to stay in the pocket against Ian Gary. He's 4 inches shorter, and Gary's also like a striker, stays up on his feet a lot. Gary is undefeated in MMA, so it'd be interesting to see if he gets his first loss or not. But he definitely does not have the fans on his side. And then our next fight, we have Robert Whitaker against Paulo Costa. It's really amazing that Paulo Costa made weight. He usually will make up an excuse and not fight. But he is a pretty big name. Robert Whitaker, really a legend in the middleweight division. His last fight he fought Dricus du Plessis, who's now the champion, but at the time Whitaker was not supposed to lose that fight. He was a major favorite and he still lost. So be interesting to see what happens there because neither of those guys have fought in a while. And then the title fight that everybody's looking forward to, we have Alexander Volkanovski against Ilia Topuria. This is a very interesting fight. It's about even odds. Volk, a legend, obviously. Ilia is talking a lot. He hasn't fought any of the main. He has not fought Max Holloway. He has not fought really anybody that's at the top of the division. So it'll be interesting. I mean, he has killed like everybody that he has faced in the last couple of years. So it'll be interesting to see who wins that fight.
Yeah, sounds like it's going to be a good card. Been good UFC 298. And now correct me if I'm wrong. UFC 300 is the one where McGregor's coming back supposedly, right?
No, McGregor's not coming back until the summer.
Dang, that would have been like
darn
storybook, man. McGregor comes back at the perfect time. All right. Now we're going to kick it to Big Mo for the Hot Zone take of the week. And you can tell he's ready for this one. He's excited. He's ready. Take it away, Max.
Oh man. Hot take of the week. We've talked about Micah Parsons a lot today. His publicity issues, his struggle to interact with fans properly. Today I come to you, podcast jury, to talk about how this man is not even a top 3 player on his own team, let alone a top 5 pass rusher in this NFL. Let's talk about it. So first of all, let's talk about that Packers game. I love that Packers game. Love talking about that. Nick loves talking about that Packers game.
Mm-hmm. Carl doesn't.
Remind me, Group Collective. What did Micah Parsons do in that game?
I don't think
Anything?
I could tell you.
Two tackles? Two tackles. One QB pressure. All right, yeah, that's enough. So Dak Prescott threw 2 picks in that game, but three passing touchdowns. Would say he very well delivered on offense. CeeDee Lamb over 100 receiving yards. What's that guy's name? Michael Gallup over 100 receiving yards. That dude that I like on their team, that linebacker Damon Clark, that's his name, Clark. He had a great game, good tackles. Yeah. Damon, great tackle, great tackler. But Dak overall in the season had a caliber MVP season, correct? He was mentioned. He was up there. I give Dak his credit. He was good this year. CeeDee Lamb was a offensive player of the year candidate. He had 1,050, like 1,500K plus and like 12 TDs. Carried the offensive attack. And I'm sorry, but Deron Bland made more of an impact this season on the defensive side of the ball. Micah Parsons had, I think, 14 sacks, and 18 tackles for a loss. I'll say the one plus thing I like about Micah Parsons is he's great at winning, in his win rate on the pass rush is very high. One of the highest in the NFL. Only other guy that compares to him while being double teamed as much is Myles Garrett. And then, short behind him, guys like Will Anderson, TJ Watt, Jadeveon Clowney still, for some reason, still kicking that guy. But when it comes to making plays within the time he played, did Micah Parsons miss much time this season? He played most games, right?
No, I don't. He didn't miss any time.
No time. So guys ahead of him this year were TJ Watt, Trey Hendrickson, Josh Allen, Khalil Mack, Daniil Hunter, Max Crosby, Myles Garrett. They tied at 7. So there you go right there is an impactful player, not a top 5 edge rusher. 6+ guys that are better than him right there. TJ Watt, obviously we talked about him, Depoy, 19 sacks, 19 tackles for a loss, an interception. Obviously it's a little different. He's playing linebacker, but more forced fumbles. It seems to be a trend with a lot of guys ahead of Micah Parsons is more forced fumbles, more tackles for a loss. I think the one thing that I don't like about Micah as an edge rusher is I feel like he's not at the point where he can stop the run as well as some of these other edge rushers can. Because
he's better than pretty much all of them at stopping the run.
Really?
Yes.
That's 18 tackles for losses does kind of speak for itself.
Compared to like 19, 17, Khalil Mack had 21, Daniil Hunter had 23. Max Crosby is probably the best run-stopping edge rusher in the league. He had 23. He has a way better win rate against the run than Micah Parsons does, according to stats.
They do not run
I found on
side.
NFL.
I've watched every single second. They don't run to his side. They run up the middle because our defensive tackles. Jonathan Hagan's is good at stopping the run, but that's about it.
Yeah, because you guys drafted Mozzie Smith.
Talk on Mozzie Smith that coming for you.
Mozzie Smith doesn't play because he's that bad.
No. He just needs to develop.
Let me get some words. Let me hear it out.
All right. Well, okay. First of all, we're not living in the Stone Age anymore. Sacks is not the only stat for pass rushers. I don't think Max brought this point up directly. We haven't talked about the defensive player of the year race at all. I think for awards' sake, I think box score is the perfect way to go at it. I think awards should be based on especially for like a defensive player like sacks or stuff like that. I mean, that should have been TJ Watt. But if you're talking about who's better, I think you got to go off of the pressure stats and the win rate stats and the double team stats. I think that's the best way to go at it. Unless we're talking about TJ Watt, who literally just gets chipped every play and for some reason doesn't count against double teams. Micah gets double teamed the most out of any single edge rusher in the league. He wins 10% higher than Myles Garrett, by the way. It's not just slightly. He wins 10% higher than Myles Garrett and 15% higher than Jadeveon Clowney. Yes, he didn't do anything in that Packers game, but nobody did anything in that Packers game. We rushed 3 or 4 and stayed in the soft zone, which is not something that we had done the entire season. So, Micah, of course, he does better when he's not doubled, and since we're only rushing 3 or 4, he pretty much was doubled every single play. So. And then by the time they got up to a big lead, they could just run the ball up the middle every play and get 5 yards a carry with Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones also owns the Cowboys. So that game, I don't even count that game. It didn't happen.
Convenient.
Is there any proof the Cowboys made the playoffs this year? I don't think
it didn't happen. It didn't happen.
Nick, is there any proof you guys have a Super Bowl win? You beat decrepit Peyton Manning. That doesn't count.
Okay, he wasn't decrepit. They were the #1 offense in the league that year. You can't just say that. They're one of the best offenses in like recent NFL history.
Yeah, when you got like 3 top 5 like offensive players on your team outside your quarterback. Look what Brock Purdy did.
Okay, now you're just hating
on you.
So
yeah.
Now, what do you guys think is non-Cowboys fans?
I think he's a very good player. It's very clear the impact he has as you're forced to divert your O-line towards him, like to get a double team against him or to design plays specifically against him, like away from him, like you said, with running up the middle as opposed to the outside. I think a game-breaking talent like that, just how like fast and versatile he is coming off the defensive line, I think it just kind of speaks for itself. Even though some of the stack numbers might be a little down this year, I do think it's also worthy to consider the amount of holding he gets against him. Because every time I see him play, every time I chance into watching a Cowboys game, it seems like he gets held a lot and he doesn't get called for it. Like, I know that might seem like a kind of a cop-out, but it does legitimately happen with him because he gets around those offensive linemen so quick they have no choice but to hold. And you can't exactly call holding on every play.
You could.
You could, but it would.
But it doesn't happen.
Yeah, it doesn't happen.
I mean, obviously, my thoughts. It's Micah Parsons is a very good player. You know, I'm not a stats guy. Eye test tells me that he's a very good player. He's going to continue to be a very good player despite his off the field antics. But but good players don't disappear that bad in big games. I mean, if you're going to hold Nick Bosa to that standard, you got to hold Micah Parsons to the same. You can't just say everyone was playing bad because, I mean, the Niners defense disappeared in this fourth quarter as well. So you can't I don't like that argument of everyone playing bad, but
yeah. No, sorry. There's like a blizzard here for no reason. I didn't even know it was going to snow.
Yeah, no, it snowed this morning too.
Yeah. So I know we were talking about, or at least Max was talking about just the stats like sacks. The only players with at least 40 sacks in their first 3 seasons: Reggie White, Derek Thomas, Aldon Smith, Dwight Freeney, and Micah Parsons. I mean, that's 3 Hall of Famers and Aldon Smith, who just is crazy. And also put up 35 sacks in his first 2 seasons. So you don't see TJ Watt on that list. You don't see Myles Garrett on that list. Micah Parsons is 24 years old. So.
Fair.
Wait, no one has any rebuttal? No? I didn't do my research on Micah Parsons. I'm not a big Cowboys fan, personally. No? Okay. Yeah, we'll move right along then to segment 3. I think that was a good hot zone. Good job, Max. You always, you may not always be right, but it's always an entertaining conversation, and we appreciate that. It's not easy coming up with a hot take every week, so round of applause for Max.
It's just the conversation, man. Sometimes we just got to have the conversation.
Yeah, I know. I totally agree. Moving on to segment 3, we're going to do our NBA midseason review. We're going to start off with our top teams. I'm going to kick it off first because my top team is obviously very biased. It's going to be the Celtics. According to I believe it's called the Phil Jackson rule. The Celtics are the only team right now to considered a legitimate contender for the NBA championship, which the last team to do that before the All-Star break, the 73-4 or whatever they were, Golden State Warriors. And if you're unaware what that rule is, it's you have to have, if you get 40 wins before you have 20 losses, you're considered a legitimate contender for the NBA championship. And as the Celtics being that only team right now, and honestly one of the most complete teams, that's why they're my top team in the East. And in the West, I like a lot of different teams here. I mean, OKC is just a fun team to watch for sure. I love watching SGA, and now they got Gordon Hayward. That'll be an interesting dynamic to add to it. Yeah, I guess my top team there would be OKC, or I don't know, the Nuggets, because they're still the reigning champions. So, you want to give us your East and West top teams?
I could take a swing. I got a little bit of detail in here. I couldn't really just pick one, when we're talking about the midseason and these teams that are cooking. So I divided into like the top teams, sleeper teams, stuff like that. But the East, following what Joey said on the Celtics, and we mentioned them before earlier today in the episode, the Celtics are just the team to beat. Like, they're the most complete team in the East, especially when healthy. We haven't seen much of them, Drew Holiday's been on and off a little bit injured. No, yes, Drew Holiday. He's probably been the one out
it's
the
not
most.
Injured. They're kind of like load managing him because he's just older.
Load managing, yeah. But I think with that team at its full maximum, it's the most complete starting offense. It's the most complete bench. I was watching the game yesterday. Peyton Pritchard literally cooked the other day.
Sure.
And I honestly, it's just those teams behind them. I like the Cavs and the Bucks in the East. The Cavs, unfortunately for the Cavs' record, when not with LeBron James, they're a regular season team that we see them do really good, and then they get to the playoff, and it's like, even when they have a high seed, they seem to be a little bit shaky. But I think Mitchell's been doing good. I think the team as a whole has been doing good. And the Bucks, it's just, with Giannis and Dame healthy, it's just a scary team. It is. It is a scary team. You get Middleton healthy in there, it could be even worse. I think they're starting to figure it out, more than most. And during playoff time, that'll be important as we get further down the season here. The best in the West, we gotta acknowledge the Timberwolves, man. We just do. Yeah. They're just playing lights out basketball right now, and a couple more wins, and we would be saying that it's the Celtics and the Timbies in the finals, because they would have that same rule if they just got a couple more wins to get to 40 before they hit 20 losses.
They only need one more.
Yeah, and the Thunder, how much do I want to talk about the Thunder, man? That team is wild. I think that team, the starting lineup now adding Gordon Hayward, I think it's a big favoritive lineup that is, a little bit harder to defend. Other than Shy, you add a guy like Hayward. Hayward can shoot, but you're talking about guys this is a in the paint kind of impactful team, like that mid range. Shy can do both. Hayward will get in the paint. You got Shet, and you can even talk about Poku in the paint. Both those guys, you got two skinwalkers coming at you in the paint. It's quite a good team, quite a good lineup. And then a team that has been my favorite in the West all season, they're also about as stacked as the Celtics are, but just struggle to keep it together, health-wise and consistency-wise, is the Clippers. My Clips, man.
Oh, yeah.
I love the Clips this season. PG, Kawhi, Harden, and Westbrook. God, dude, that's just they're the old heads team. This is just the old heads team that show up to the playground court and just challenge everybody to a basketball game and blow them out by 30. That's the Clippers, man. I love the Clips right now. And yeah, we could get more into the sleeper teams, but I want to hear everybody else's top teams first. Hey, take it away.
Yeah, so I'll go next. Obviously, I think the Celtics for the whole league are by long and far the main like the best team so far. It's just the record shows it. They're a very complete team. They're deep. They have talent in all the right areas. Jason Tatum is still great. The Cavs are interesting to me because they've always had good like Joey said, they've always had good regular seasons. It just remains to be seen if they can put it together in the postseason. They have the talent to do so with Donovan Mitchell and everyone else on that team. I just think it's good for them that they're finally reaching this kind of level of success without LeBron. I think how long has it been since the Cavs were this good without LeBron James donning the red
Um,
and yellow?
a year or two ago, they were pretty good. They were,
Last year was the first time they made the playoffs without LeBron.
was that last year?
Yeah.
Okay, I couldn't
Yeah,
remember.
Yeah,
I
I
believe
think
they
the
were like
last time they were this good was like the early '90s.
I believe the team last year, the only teams the Celtics would lose to were like the Cavs and then like somebody else.
Yeah.
They were a good
Yeah,
team.
no, actually, I think it's since the mid '80s. I think since they've been that good without LeBron.
Yeah, it's just crazy to think that it's good for that city. They need it. Anyway, so I think a majority of the talent is in the Western Conference. That's not a hot take. That's just there's so many more over 500 teams there that it's just a very cramped playoff picture. Because the East is kind of stinking it up at the low end. Um,
They're just
but
concentrated.
the Timberwolves, it's amazing to see what Anthony Edwards has done to that culture on that team. He's just completely revitalized it. I remember thinking that team was dead in the water after the Rudy Gobert trade, um, because it just seemed like it was not that great a move because they already had Cat and they already had Cat and they didn't need another center and they sent a haul of picks, but they've just really like stepped up this year. The Clippers, they're the old heads team. It's good to see all these players finally getting to like have like a run at it, like almost like a kind of a last dance. Obviously, they're not going to retire next year or anything. It's just the clock was running out on players like Russell Westbrook. So it'll be I think it's going to be interesting to see what that team does in the playoffs because I think they could be particularly well suited to a deep run due to their experience.
Yeah, and then I'm not going to go over the Celtics because we already have. They're the clear best team in the NBA right now. Um, for the Cavs at least, I think it's really up to if Donovan Mitchell steps up. I mean, if you look at that team, it's really, or at least that lineup, it's pretty stacked. I mean, you have Garland, you have Mitchell, you have Jared Allen, you have Evan Mobley. I mean, you're not going to find a better starting five in a lot of teams. Um, and at least for the East, we haven't talked about. I know we talked about the Knicks in the past. I know they're on a 4-game skid at the moment, but very very good team. I think a lot of people expected them to have a worse year than last year and like get down to like the 7 or 8 seed, but they've been playing better than we thought. Jalen Brunson's been really carrying the team. Randall's been a bit more efficient as of late. Um, the Pacers are even a team in the East that could definitely jump the Sixers. I could see them having a 5 or 4 seed with Halliburton. The team's really talented. And then moving over to the West, I think the Clippers have really been the team this year that's surprised everybody just because they've been able to stay healthy. Um, I've been a big Paul George fan for really his entire career. I love to see him do well. Harden's been playing really well. Westbrook, he's been pretty efficient off the bench. And then obviously Kawhi. Kawhi is I don't know if he's quite back to his old form, but he's pretty close. He's been playing really well. The Western Conference is very interesting. You could see a lot of upsets there just because there's so many talented teams like the Warriors at the 10 seed, the Lakers in the 9. It's pretty interesting over there. Um, and I'd say even the Pelicans, who we were talking about earlier in the in the pod, they're a pretty interesting team. I love their roster. I love their rotation. I think they have a lot of people off the bench that works well for them. Um, like UConn legend Jordan Hawkins, very good. Obviously, if Zion can stay healthy, they have Bi, CJ, very very good team.
Oh yeah. Just bouncing back to the Knicks real quick. I think it's wicked cool that Brunson, Hart, and DiVincenzo all back on the same team again. That was a group, the core group that won Villanova two championships in 2016 and 2018. So I think that's pretty cool to see. All right, we're gonna go top performers in the NBA so far. So we'll just do like one from the East, one from the West, like our like most surprising, like or like whoever you viewed as the best performer based on like where they were last year, this year, or etc. All right, and so I'll kick it off. For me, my top performer for the East was Tyrese Halliburton, because I think he took a big step up this year in filling in that leadership role for the team. And then I think that he's, like I said, he took a big step up, and he's a leader on that team now. Whereas last year, he was good, but he wasn't at that level yet. In his second year now, he's really kind of like come into himself as a player, and he's performing phenomenally this season. And then in the West, my player I'm gonna go Ant. Yeah, I think he's the core piece of that Timberwolves team, that T-Wolves team, and I think that if without him, I don't think that team's nearly as good. I mean, he can get it done on both sides of the ball phenomenally well, and I think that he's just been playing. He's taking that, like I said with Tyrese, he's also taking that big step forward this season to be that guy on the team. He has a little bit more talent surrounding him, in my opinion, than Tyrese does on the Pacers, but he still has to lead that team. So if you guys want to go ahead.
I'll start with the East. And I can never pick one guy. I'm so indecisive. So I always like to keep a trifecta. But the Celtics, God, we've talked about them a lot. They're just so good, man. But I mean, Tatum is just the leading front of that force. And I think until they ever, honestly, it would take them bringing in someone like LeBron or KD or somebody else to dethrone him as the best player on the Celtics and the front runner for them in every game. Another guy I have to say is in that position. I mean, I gotta show some love. It's Trae Young, bro. We would not be competitive at all, or even considered a play-in team right now, if Trae Young hasn't been cooking in some of the games as he has. I mean, obviously, we talked about that Charlotte game. That it wasn't that great, but like in most of these games, it's Trae being the front force and Trae leading in points and assists and just making everything click. And I really hope he's happy at the end of the season, because if we lose him, I will cry. And then Jalen Brunson, obviously, he's completely changed the dynamic of what the Knicks are with the talent he's brought. And he really seems like that front runner. I mean, like, it was Julius Randle, and then he's just like, nah, I'm better. So now it's the Brunson show, and Julius Randle now becomes that second piece that, he's better as a follow player. He was the same when he was young on the Lakers. He's a piece player. I don't think he's that front guy. And in the West, I can't shoot down on Shai. Shai is just immaculate this season. Shai is crazy. He has been for like the past 2 seasons. He is like one of the best guards, if not the best guard in the West right now, at least. And then you talk about a dynamic duo. It's Kyrie and Luka. Who loves watching Kyrie and Luka play basketball? Because I know I do. This tandem is crazy. It's awesome. They have been cooking lately, and the Mavs have been cooking. Oh my God, the PJ Washington edition, but Kyrie and Luka, dude, dynamic guard duo. That's gonna be scary in a playoff setting. And then obviously for the Suns, my cousin, big fan. I can't leave out Devin Booker. I mean, you got KD and Beal over there, but again, a lot of games, if it's not KD, it's been Booker. And more times than KD in these games, it's been Booker. And I can't bet against Booker. I would love to see a Mavs Suns matchup in the playoffs to see that Booker versus Luka tandem again with Kyrie in the mix against KD. Like, that's a matchup I want to see. But yeah, those are my top performers.
Yeah, well, Max just stole every single player in the NBA, but I guess so for the East, I'll try to touch on people that we haven't talked about in this segment yet. Donovan Mitchell, top five in the NBA in scoring, which you really need to see from a guy like that to step up. There's a lot of talent around him, but they don't have a guy that's gonna lead them in scoring if they're gonna be successful. That's not Donovan Mitchell. Like, you're not gonna see Garland go out there and score 30 a night. He's very, very talented, but you're not gonna see that. So I think that's really good for him. And another player in the East. I'm gonna go with Tyrese Maxey. Maxey is averaging 26 points per game. He's really gonna need to step up after the All-Star break to keep that team afloat and keep them in the playoff picture until hopefully Embiid comes back. And then for the West, I did want to talk about Luka. I think he's the MVP right now, especially that Joel's out for a while. So I think Luka's that guy at the moment. Obviously, I love Anthony Edwards. I think somebody that's not being talked about is Desmond Bane. Desmond Bane, when he plays, I know the Grizzlies are not very good, but Desmond Bane is the leading scorer for that team, putting up 24 a game. It's a pretty big jump for him. He was good last year, good the year before, but he really has to be the lead guy for that team to even keep them in games at all.
Yeah, I agree. All right, Nick.
All right, so for mine, for the Eastern Conference, I'm going to have to say it's Jalen Brunson. What he's done and brought to the Knicks since coming there from the Mavs has been nothing short of incredible, frankly. The Knicks have been kind of a laughingstock of the league for a while. It's very fun make fun of my Knicks fans friends for that. But unfortunately, Jalen Brunson seems to have a personal vendetta to make that no longer possible. He's putting up nearly 30 points a game, top 10 in the league in scoring. And he's completely just flipped like the culture of the Knicks into a winning one, like seemingly overnight. He's frankly just revived that city, like in terms of basketball, and it's kind of amazing to see what he's done.
Well, I think what plays into that, Nick, too, is having him bringing in guys he played with and won championships with in college. You know,
yeah, Villanova.
I know it's a different game, but I think that also helps like change that culture.
Oh yeah, that chemistry aspect definitely has like
even locker room too, locker room culture, you know.
Yeah, I think it's good for him in his career that he got off the Mavs and was able to stop being like overshined, and he was able to finally take up into that number one role option. That kind of let him flourish. I don't think he's able to do this if he's still under Luka. And in the depth chart. All right, so my Western Conference. Trying to think, since Max stole literally every option.
There's one. There's one that I have in my head right now that we all forgot about.
I might actually go with a player from the Sacramento Kings here, De'Aaron Fox, averaging 26 points a game, putting up a very respectable season yet again. The Kings are they still in the running? I haven't checked the standings.
Yeah, they're in the play-in right now.
Yeah, they're in the play-in. So they're hanging in there. They're not doing quite as good as they did last year, but I don't know if that could be expected with how good the Western Conference got this offseason. But overall, I think he's putting up a good season at point guard. Good amount of assists, good amount of points per game. Just overall an offensive scoring threat as always, and of course he's fast as always. And I know he's one of Carl's personal favorite players, but yeah.
All right, and then we're just gonna wrap up this episode here with our sleeper teams going into the second half of the season. What teams we think could break out that are in the play-in or not in playoffs that maybe can make that late push to get that to get out of the play-in or to get into the playoffs in general. I will start off real quick, just because Nick brought up the Kings. They're my sleeper team. I think that they could make that push to get into the actual playoffs, not the play-in, because they got that good team. Were phenomenal last year. I think they can continue to make that push. And then in the East, the Orlando Magic. I think they can make that push from the play-in to the playoffs, especially because especially because right now the 76ers are out. They are without Embiid for a month or two, I believe. Correct. So that there's a good chance for them to make that push to get into the actual seeding of the playoffs and out of the play-in. Carl, you want to take it?
Yeah, I think for the Eastern Conference, I'd say the Heat. Because they always just seem to be in the mix. They haven't been that good in the first half, so I think they'll make a good push in the second half. And then for the Western Conference, I mean, we were just talking about it. Even though the Mavericks have been really hot recently, they're still the 7th seed. I think we could see them definitely move up into the top 5 or 4.
Yeah. Max, Nick, you guys want to take it?
I'm gonna have to. For the East, Joey had to take mine first. And that's not cool because I have been an Orlando Magic supporter since the beginning of the season and since it has flooded my TikTok. But mine is also the Orlando Magic because, you got to get that Orlando Magic, Orlando Magic, Orlando Magic. Yes, we love the Orlando Magic. To Carl's take, I think they will actually win the division over the Heat because our division is very bad this year and the Hawks aren't going to make a push for it. It's really just a fight between those two right now for it. If the Magic keep pace, I feel like they can get there. And on the East, I'm gonna go with the Lakers. I gotta go with my king, my glorious king, LeBron James, and that they keep it up. Everyone stays healthy. The Lake Show keeps rolling, and they'll just keep getting higher and higher in seeding. They probably still won't make it out of the play-in, but I feel like they'll be up there. And if I could see another Curry versus LeBron matchup in the play-in or the early of the playoffs, I'll be happy with my life. I'll be very happy. Nick, close it for us.
So, all right. So for my picks for both conferences, I'm going to start off with the West Conference. I'm going to say that the New Orleans Pelicans are my sleeper picks. When they stay healthy, they have a very good team. They have a very solid basis around Zion and the talent around them. And I think they could make a pretty deep run. They're already on track to make the actual playoffs, not just the play-in. So I think they're in a pretty good position to actually do something. Then for the Eastern Conference, I was gonna say the Orlando Magic, but at risk of sounding redundant, I'm not going to do that. I'm gonna say actually maybe the Indiana Pacers could do something. I know they don't have the talent to probably win a championship, but I think they could still make a run if Halliburton gets really going in the playoffs.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, they fell down the past couple of weeks because Halliburton's been injured on and off a little bit.
Yeah, but the Eastern Conference is still much weaker than the West, I think. So I still think they have a shot.
Well, yeah, but it's also very top heavy. I remember because once playoffs rolls around, Embiid's coming back. Giannis turns into a different animal. I mean, who knows what Dame's going to look like in Milwaukee with Giannis?
Too. Yeah,
that's something. Yeah, exactly. Dame time. That's something that, as a Celtics fan, makes me very nervous because we love to go to Game 7 with the Bucks every single year and give me some heart attacks along the way.
With Doc Rivers in Game 7 with Doc Rivers.
Let's go, Doc Rivers. Yes, I love you, Doc Rivers. Oh man,
Doc Rivers has done more for Boston since leaving the Celtics than he did for him when he was on there.
You're not wrong. But yeah, just we'll wrap it up here now. Thank you guys for watching the Zoned In podcast. We really appreciate it. Just make sure you guys like, share, subscribe, follow all the socials, share it with your friends. We really appreciate you guys your support and helping grow our podcast. Until next time, we'll see you later.